As you know, my name is Leo Kok. I'm a civil law notary in Holland, in Apeldoorn, not in Amsterdam. This is Amsterdam. You've all been there, I think. But Apeldoorn is not so nice to see as Amsterdam is on this place. I'm a civil law notary, and of course I'm only a notary when I am in Holland. So now, on this moment, I'm just a citizen as everyone else. So what we are going to do is sending the deed is just a trial, is an example of how it could be made when it was made from Holland. I will show you later on two things. The first will be a short 30 seconds movie of our office in Holland, and I mean to say by that we are very average notary office in Holland, and you can see how it looks like and what kind of people work there, and but it's only 30 seconds. But it's enough to have an impression, I think. That's because I want to emphasize the practical side of it. You can see a client entering, you can see people working. And that's my goal, to do that. After that, I will show you the deeds we prepared. The deeds are in English, as you know, and they are not signed by me yet. I have my signature here on a USB. And I will try to show you how the signature is put under the deed. After that, I will send the deed to CROBECO. That will you see also. And I'm not sure if you can see that it is received.
We will try. We will try.
Okay, that's what you see. Before I do that all, I have a short introduction, because I have limited time and I want to say a few things. And so I just read it out for you, and then after that we are going to do the things I just told you. I was delighted to be asked to participate in the pilot for the first CROBECO deed in Portugal. CROBECO is an interesting project that can contribute to market recovery for foreign property purchases in Southern Europe. The declaration that Dutch law applies to the obligatory legal relationship and the authorization of the Dutch court, Regulation Brussels I, are particularly interesting for Dutch property buyers. These will serve to make buyers less reluctant to purchase foreign property, particularly in combination with the fact that Dutch property buyers can get help from a Dutch civil law notary who speaks their own language and provides the belehrung in their own language. I realized that CROBECO places new demands on Dutch civil law notaries, and in my opinion, the CROBECO approach will only be possible for those civil law notaries in Holland that specialize in foreign title transfers. Knowledge of Portuguese law of property regarding registration of deeds is now also required, as well as knowledge of Dutch contract law. The civil law notary also needs to be able to investigate ownership in Portugal and any limitations that may exist. The explanation about Portuguese law, which I obtained from ELRN, was very useful. The explanation about hidden charges and overriding interests was also enlightening. For example, the fact that leases longer than 6 years are still registered in Portugal, although this is not a right in rem. And to give another example, the explanation about various authorities where information about public limitations needs to be collected. This isn't the land registry, as in the case of in the Netherlands. Such information needs to be requested from the municipality and from various provincial and national government departments. This is why I consider it extremely useful that a help desk is available where experts can collate this information for the foreign civil notary. I also found the fact that Portugal accepts deeds in English and that all such deeds can be sent to a land registry office for foreign deeds to be particularly practical. The Portuguese certificate from the Portuguese municipality indicating that a house was built prior to 1951 and therefore does not require an occupancy permit has also simplified matters considerably. I also found the repository of clauses with example texts and explanations to be extremely useful in formulating these deeds. The only remaining point was the technological challenge of sending deeds electronically. Luckily, we already have experience with sending deeds electronically in the Netherlands, and using this to send deeds to Portugal proved simple to realize. It transpires that electronic signatures of Dutch civil law notaries are also accepted in Portugal. The Dutch certification provider, which provided me with a key encryption for electronic signature following an identity check, is also an accepted authority in Portugal. This organization's root certificate has now been installed with the Portuguese land registry, which should mean that everything will now run smoothly and that Dutch electronic signatures can also be checked in Portugal. I'm delighted to be able to test this now. I'll first show you that office, our office, to get an impression of a Dutch notary office. I hope it works. It will. Is the weather like in Apeldoorn? This is our office. I'm welcoming you. This is the hall. This is my client who buys a house in Portugal. This is my colleague. This is the procedure of passing a deed. The Queen at back. This is what we do. These are some of our people. They're working very hard. And these are some people of our office too. So you have an impression of how such an average Dutch notary office looks like. Now I will go to the deeds. You can, in one moment, yeah. You see two contracts, and one contract and one request. It's a PDF. It's fresh yet. I will open the contract now. It's a real contract, but with no real people and no real estate. It looks like a real contract. You can see these are the parties, the seller and the buyer. The seller is Portuguese, the buyer is Dutch, a Dutch company. You can see the statements of the parties, the plot identification, the contract of sale, the purchase amount, the seller statements, and so on. This is the complete deed. Yeah? Two? Oh, you want to read it? Oh, that's okay. Are you really interested in the contents?
Applicable law and jurisdiction.
Shall I do it again, but slower? Okay. And that's, of course, the end. I will show you the other document, and that is the request. This one is not so big, so you can show you everything. Okay, you've seen that, I think. I'm closing now, and you can see I go to J sign. See it in the left. I can use this for signing the documents you just saw. Here you can see, you can choose a document. I will now select a document. Oh. Without a mouse it's not so easy. No, there is it. Okay. So I start the test. You can see that it's now here, and now can I choose the name of it? Oh, sorry. That's the wrong one. It's not. It's not a good one. One second. Open. Zie? Ja, hij staat op de verkeerde map, ja. Ja, hier staat hij. Hè. Nou. Nee, dat is hem niet hoor. Ik moet even die naam... Oké. One moment. Output. Ja. I have to. This is a secret pin, but you can see it. Oh no. And now you have seen this is the procedure of creating the signature. Now and this is the request also. I've done placed now the signatures. I'm going to my mail account. Normally I have a secretary who can do that for me. But I hope. E-mailbericht. I have prepared an address of CROBECO. Oh. You see here CROBECO, and then I call it test, and now I have to bestanden. You can see here both the documents and the mail and test, and I will send now. And I hope it works.
Yes.
Yes, it arrived.
Yes, it arrived. It arrived, and I can see both of the documents. I don't know. We wanted to show you the receiving also, but changing all the system now. I don't know if it would be good just take our words. Mihai, you may testify.
I will testify. I'm with the I can see here.
And I would right now answer, and I will answer, Mr. and he will show you
Yes.
what I will send. This is fiction, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to do anything?
I send it,
Oh.
the proof of receipt.
Okay.
I was already prepared to send it, so that will not happen in true life, but in fiction, yes.
No, I understand, but I didn't receive it yet.
Oh.
Which email address did you use?
I use it, the last one, the one you made.
Mr. Undercover.
I'll show you the one I use. I used the one from yesterday.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's okay?
Yeah.
Well, I here have the messages sent.
I didn't receive it yet.
Well, I will try again.
My identity is correct, I think.
It's the Hotmail address, so yes.
Yeah.
So
I have here another one.
now I'm answering your email, responding in your email.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe that's a part we have to study.
No, it's here. It appears as sent, but let's try in another way.
Hereby I declare that Philomena sent the message.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Look, they're coming. Well,
Oh, it's far. It's far. We are
Yeah.
in Portugal. You are in Holland. It
Yeah.
takes time.
Okay, you can see it now.
Yeah.
And you have the proof of receipt, and the same content of the proof of receipt is in the message. It's the same content. Yeah. Proof of receipt.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Okay, that's all.
That's all.
That's all.
Thank you
Any
very much.
questions? Sorry,
Yes, please.
it's complicated.
So thank you very much to our Dutch colleague for this presentation, which already in procedural terms looks a little bit complicated, but I guess it's going to be
No, it's not so complicated.
more simple in the future. I have less technical questions, but rather legal questions. Two things. You insisted in the beginning on the fact of having a notary speaking the own language of the buyer and the seller.
Yeah.
And maybe just a thing to put right, speaking for the German system, if you go to a German civil law notary, and I think this also applies to Spain, to Poland, if one of the parties is not capable of speaking French, of speaking German, and so on, there has to be a translation, either provided by the notary himself or provided by an official translator. So for the moment, I don't see this argument of language being really so important, if in any case, under the notarial laws, there has to be translation as a legal requirement for authentication. This is the first point. And the second point concerning the CROBECO approach itself. In the beginning, we heard from Mrs. Wallace this specific problem English buyers did have in Spain, which was due to public law, which was due to cases of expropriation. Now, I just try to imagine what is the added value of choosing Dutch law, for example, as a private law. In any case, even though to the obligation part of the contract Dutch law applies, this problem of public law, which might lead to inequalities, to injustices in the state where the property is located, cannot be solved by a choice of law in private law. So maybe you have an answer to these two questions, please.
Maybe it's I think combine the answers to both questions. Last year I had a similar case, two Dutchmen and a house here in Portugal, and they chose to go to my office because they know me and they know my office and they are at ease at my office, and we prepared the deed in Portugal, but the deed was done here. So we were, you could say, the director of the transaction, but we had a cooperation with a local notary in Portugal to make it official. And I think also in the future, it's not wise for a Dutch notary to do it on his own. He always has to have some cooperation with a local expert. And the only reason that people come to me is that they know me, they trust me, they think I can help them, but I don't pretend to know all of Portuguese law. I always have to know, I always need the local expert. That is my answer.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Flo. I think we had a fruitful session and most of us have found... Oh, I'm sorry.
I have a question. Because you are talking about the cooperation between experts and notary, and my question is, who will be responsible if the register will not register the deed?
Okay, that's the choice you make. When I am the one that signs the deed, I'm responsible for that part of the deal. When it's done here in Portugal, and that's the situation we had to do last year, because this wasn't possible then it's the notary here, and I'm responsible for my part in the transaction.
We are talking about your part.
Yeah, that's advice, and that's answering, and that's...
And notary is responsible for before the clients.
Yeah.
So it's not only the responsibility for the preparing the document, but
No.
for the whole transaction.
Yeah.
And if it will be not legal for the foreign country, your responsibility, in my opinion, will be not ending at the deed, but for the whole transaction.
Yeah, that's correct. And I'm insured too. For that, but for me was that a question, but the insurance is also for these cases.
Are there any other questions?
No. Bye-bye to Amsterdam.
I think we had a fruitful session.